Oh, man, I was on mute. I was on mute the entire time. Are you fucking kidding me? Man, what the fuck? Thank you, Millennial Noob, for that. I appreciate you letting me know. I did not have the chat pulled up, and that's what happens when I'm not looking at the chat. Damn, I had it on mute for that long. Fuck, I apologize. Well, I'm here now. Noob, thanks for thanks for letting me know. I appreciate it. Usually, the best way to combat that is usually when I have Alexis here to kind of let me know, that I'm on mute. Usually, she texts me or something like that, or lets me know if she's here on the show. And I did not see that. I was on mute while we were in the fucking preparation and shit, and I had it on mute. Well, if I didn't have Noob there in the chat, I probably would have never known that. Thank you, Noob, for letting me know. I am doing well now. You asked how I was doing earlier. I am doing well now. I literally just went on a spiel for like fucking 10 minutes, just talking about the show here today, potentially taking callers, the episode 600, and the anniversary episode being here today. And I completely fucked that up. Man, that is a terrible way to start. Episode 600. Richie is joining us. Grunt is here as well. I see Richie with the Veer emojis in the chat. Grunt said, at my cousin's place, so I'll be popping in and out, but happy 600. Thank you, Grunt. I appreciate that. Richie also with the Rusev emoji there in the chat. And the Love Ziggler emojis, of course, as well. So if you want to check out the emojis, you could do so. Check out becoming a channel member, all that other sort of stuff in the description box. Literally, I just got done talking about this, but I was on mute the entire fucking time. I very much apologize. I did not realize I was on mute for that long. That is how my weekend's going, by the way. Man, that is just awful. I am still spent from the last 4 days of having to watch and cover the Saturday Night's Main Event stuff, Double or Nothing, Battleground, all great shows, all enjoyable shows. The problem is I watched way too much wrestling this week and had a lot too much to do in addition to other stuff that was going on. And it was far from a relaxing Memorial Day weekend, to the point now where you could tell I'm completely fucking out of it, to where I was literally on mute for the entire video up until now. I apologize. That is terrible. Noob said he's doing good. That's good to hear. But what I was saying earlier while I was muted was that if you guys are interested in call-in stuff, if you're interested in, joining the show here today, I guess at this point with the technical difficulties I'm already having, it probably wouldn't be a good idea. But if you guys are interested in joining the show, be sure to let me know. And honestly, I think there's a way we could probably take callers here today. I wanted to do something more special for episode 600, and it just didn't work out, unfortunately. And all my focus, effort, and energy kind of went into everything else that was going on this weekend before today. So I apologize for that, but we are here for episode 600. 12 years into doing this show, almost every single week for a dozen years, I would say is a pretty solid streak. And now we've been going live with the show for the last number of months, dating back to January. So it's been a lot of fun doing the show for the last 600 episodes. And I was also mentioning while I was muted that today actually falls episode 600, and I did not plan this on purpose. But today's anniversary of the show also falls on my 15-year anniversary, actually, of being with Bleacher Report. Decade and a half, I've been pretty much doing that for half of my fucking life. So it's very cool that the two different milestones can fall on the exact same day. I think I realized that a couple of weeks ago, where I saw the date and didn't really dawn on me until like the other day, like, oh shit, like we're doing this on the anniversary of how long I've been with Bleacher Report. 15 years no less, and 600 episodes of this show, I would say, is pretty solid, like I said. But what I was also saying earlier while I was muted, and I'll keep this short before we can move on to the questions because I've wasted enough time here today, was that a show like this is not possible without fine folks like you. Checking out the show live, watching in, after the fact, watching really the last 12 years, whether it be one episode or, several hundred episodes or whatever it's been. All that support is greatly appreciated, so thank you so much for that. And, it's been a lot of fun doing the show live for the last number of months, and it's been cool to see the show evolve from what we were doing. Actually, when I first started doing the show, I had like a limit of how long the videos could be, because I don't think I verified my account or whatever the fuck it was. So these videos started out as only being 15 minutes. I would have to cram as many questions as I could into a 15-minute period. Do not go back and watch those early episodes. They're fucking terrible. But yeah, we've been doing this show for 12 years now, and we've had a lot of great people on, a lot of great guests. I've brought the show, I've been able to record the show all over the country in places that I've been for wrestling shows. and into various cities across the country and whatnot. So it's very cool. Very happy to be here and very happy that you guys are here to join me for such a special occasion. So again, thanks to everyone that is joining in the channel. Shout out the channel members one more time. I did this while I was muted, but I fucked up. A shout out to Alexis, Miss Maud Matthews, Dillon, DiGiacomo, Mrs. Renee, DJ Swerve 1, at Swerve1 on IG. That is WON on IG. Daniel Malcolm, letter I, letter M, quarter on X. Mr. Marceau himself, RJ Marceau. Find him on Twitter at RJ_Marceau. John Ritland, subscribe to his channel, Real Honesty with John Ritland. You see Richie there in the chat. Check out his channel. Red Planet Wrestling here on YouTube as well. Find his channel, check it out, subscribe. And last but not least, their boy Average Grunt, who was here just a moment ago, at the Average Grunt on X. Follow him on over there. And Richie, thank you. We said 15 years, 12 years. That's insane. It's pretty crazy. The time absolutely blows by. So it is pretty wild to see how much time has been spent talking about wrestling for pretty much half of my life, which is insane. But I appreciate that. Thank you guys so much for being here. Noel also joining, saying hello. Noel, thank you so much for coming on in. Noel was actually the person who sent in the question that we're going to be talking about here today. The best and worst main roster call-ups of all time. They sent in that question previously. So we'll get to that in a little bit. Jordan B sent in a question last week, and if you want to send in a question, you could do so, tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.GSM.Matthews. Drop a comment on the post. I usually put up on Monday nights, if not on the wall itself. You can also send in a question on the comment section on this very video after we, render the video after the fact. You can drop a question on the comment section of this very video, and I'll include it in next week's edition. Alexis also joining, saying woohoo, episode 600. Yes, we are here today. So very excited to be to get going with you guys here today. So anyway, Jordan B sent in this question from YouTube. He asked me for today's episode, what are some of your favorite William Regal matches? That's a good question, and I've always pointed to the match that kind of got me into wrestling, and it really wasn't even the match itself. Because people always ask me like who my favorite wrestler is, and they legitimately either don't believe me when I say William Regal, or they don't have any fucking clue who he is, especially for people that aren't like lifelong wrestling fans or haven't watched in a long time, because he's not like a big name by any means. But my go-to answer is always the match that kind of got me into watching wrestling 17 years ago, and that was a Raw match that he had with Randy Orton, who was the then WWE champion. And again, it wasn't even really the match itself. If you go back on, I would say fucking the network or something, or on Peacock, but they're not there anymore. If you go back and watch the episode the match on YouTube, it's probably like a 5 to 7 minute match. It's really not that long. But the match itself, what got me hooked into wrestling was the fact that he was the Raw general manager at the time, and Randy Orton was the WWE champion, the champion of this brand, and they were in England, Regal's home country. He was like this evil authority figure who actually ended up abusing his power like the following week by entering himself into the King of the Ring tournament and winning the whole thing. Just everything about that storyline, I just fell in love with. Not only the William Regal character himself, but just really the entire, just the entire wrestling thing, I guess, in general. So I always go back to that Regal-Orton match. Again, you go back and watch it on YouTube. It's far from an instant classic. It's a basic television match, and Orton won pretty decisively and quickly. But I just like the fact that this authority figure would put himself in a match in his home country against the WWE champion. And I wasn't even really a wrestling fan at that point. That really hooked me. But beyond that, like older matches of William Regal's, quite honestly, I really couldn't name a whole bunch. He's had a lot of amazing matches over the course of his career, but I can't really point to any pre-2008 that would really stand out to me as being among my favorite, because I just haven't seen them enough. But in the time that I've been watching wrestling, and Regal kind of winded down as a full-time competitor by 2012, 2013. He was like the NXT commentator, NXT GM at that point. So there were really only a few short years where Regal was in the ring when I was watching that I was a big fan of his work. I remember him having a great match on ECW with Christian for the ECW championship. They had a match at SummerSlam 09 that was like fucking 30 seconds or some shit. That shit pissed me off. That match ended like immediately. That shit pissed me off. But they ended up thankfully having a few different rematches on TV, one of which I think Regal won to earn the opportunity at the ECW title in England again. That would have been in November of 2009. I was actually, my first ever WWE show was the week prior, and I got to see Regal in person. It was really cool. But yeah, that match on ECW was great. Beyond that, we had honestly my favorite Regal matches might have taken place in NXT. That match with Cesaro that I think goes down as his last match ever. I think he kind of quietly retired after that. He had a few matches with Cassius Ohno on NXT, a few multi-man matches, but I remember the Cesaro match being on Christmas in 2013. That's when it aired, and that match was awesome. So those are probably my favorite Regal matches, personally. Alexis, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Saying a little gift for you for the episode 600. Thank you, Alexis. Always appreciate it, obviously. Much love. As I said that, I think yesterday in a joke, or not to her. I said it to her, but not about her. And I've said that before in just another I guess she's never heard me say that before, but she thought it was funny. That's what it made me think of. Fernando said, Buenos dias, WrestleRant. Fernando, what's going on, brother? Thanks for joining us here today for episode 600. If you guys missed it, we started the show on fucking mute. I shit you not. I was probably muted for 5 to 7 minutes. I'm always muted during the pre-show, like while the stream is starting, and then I unmute myself. And I forgot to fucking unmute myself. I've had Mr. Marceau muted before when we record WrestleRant radio. And that's bad, but like at least you could still hear me talking. And then people let me know that he's muted, and that's always my fault. That's never his problem. That's always my issue. And then I unmute him. But this was even worse because the first 5 to 7 minutes of this episode, I guess there's a first time for everything. And I've had episodes of Hashtag that I've recorded in the last 12 years that crashed, and I would have to record the episode all over again. I cannot tell you how much I wanted to fucking, I won't say kill myself because I don't want to get flagged here on YouTube, but how angry I was after that happened. My YouTube, my fucking recording system would crash, or just my computer would crash, and the episode would go to waste. Just complete waste. And I would have to record again. I've recorded the show at like fucking 1 o'clock in the morning before, not live, but I've recorded the show super late. I've recorded the show at just ridiculous times of the day, in the morning and night. Just wild, man. Just crazy. But it's been an amazing journey, and I appreciate everyone being here, including everyone here in the chat that can join us for this awesome occasion. Noel also said, who knows, maybe in an alternate timeline, Regal could have been WWE champion. And that would have been awesome. I mean, I always go back to 2008. What if Regal did not get suspended? Would he have become WWE champion? I always thought the answer was yes. Honestly, looking back on it, they were probably not going to give that belt. I mean, Regal was getting incredible heat at that point. But if you look at who the champions were, Triple H was WWE champion. Triple H was WWE champion through the end of the year. I doubt Triple H was giving up that belt to give to Regal. And then the World Heavyweight Championship was stuck on SmackDown with Edge and Taker and involved in that whole thing. And I don't think Regal was going to SmackDown because all of his heat was on Raw. So he probably honestly wouldn't have become WWE champion, but we'll just never know. Average Grunt said, looking forward to your Double or Nothing review. I had a blast with it per usual, but I am concerned about what Ospreay does from here. Maybe he'll have a proper feud with Ricochet, ? My written review of Double or Nothing should be up on, hopefully today. I did some of it while I was watching. I spent literally most of my Memorial Day watching Double or Nothing. And to give you the short and sweet of it, I'll give more thoughts probably on Thursday's WrestleRant radio. And I will definitely give my full written review up on WrestleRant.com either today or tomorrow. It's just been one hell of a weekend, really. But in short, I thought Double or Nothing, as always, was a very good show, especially from an in-ring standpoint specifically. Way too fucking long. I mean, that's really no surprise. But honestly, I feel like usually when I watch shows after the fact, I feel like they're a lot easier because I could skip through the bullshit and the commercials and stuff. I did that with Double or Nothing, but it still took me like 4.5, 5 hours to watch the entire thing. I mean, it's honestly insane how long those shows are. They really need to cut down on the length of these shows. No show should end at 12 o'clock, 12:30 Eastern time in the morning. That is just insane to me. But the overall show was very good. To me, far and away, the best part of the show was that amazing main event. Ospreay and Paige was incredible. The entire show I thought was very good. Best Double or Nothing ever, far from it, I think. But, I thought the overall card was good. Some very good matches. Hayter and Monet was very good. Anarchy in the Arena, I thought was, it's garbage wrestling. I did not like it as always. I've never really liked it. I just thought it was fucking terrible. But again, that's just me. A lot of people loved it, so my opinion really doesn't matter. But it was exactly what I expected, so I really can't say I'm surprised by that. Other stuff on the show, I'm trying to think. The 6-man right before the main event I thought was well worked, but it's just like, do we really need to be doing this at fucking 11:30 at night? Especially a match that goes almost 12, 15 minutes. I mean, come on. The FTR tag team match I thought was solid, but again, went way too long. Trying to think what else was even on the show. A lot of it's just one giant blur, to be honest with you. Storm and Shirakawa was good, but we already got the match a year ago, and it was the exact same outcome with Tony Storm retaining. The title wasn't really in much jeopardy on Sunday night. The stretcher match was a pretty bloody affair. I thought that was a good stretcher/ambulance match. It was kind of both, actually. That was good. I mean, the feud didn't really necessitate a stretcher stipulation, but I know they wanted to kind of pay homage to the late Sabu, who competed in a stretcher match at the ECW show that Tony Khan went to back in the day. So I kind of get that. Yeah, I thought the overall show was very good. I enjoyed Double or Nothing. I'll have more thoughts, my complete review of the show up on WrestleRant.com either today or tomorrow. I did the entire Raw review. Raw's a lot easier to review because I'm kind of doing it while I'm watching it. I actually watched Double or Nothing and Battleground. I try to kind of watch both simultaneously. I thought both shows were very good. Double or Nothing was definitely the better show. I mean, that's really kind of no surprise. But that main event was well worth it, though. That main event was definitely one of AEW's best matches so far this year. And that's saying something, too, because AEW's had obviously, some great matches this year, but that was an awesome one. Maria, what's going on? She said, hello, everyone. Maria, hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining us. Nathaniel said, did you like John Cena versus R-Truth, the match? It was a match. I mean, it went 4 minutes. I can't really say I expected much more than what we got. But I can't even say like it was a waste of a match because honestly, they had to do the Cena Truth match or at least an interaction between the two at some point. And it was better on a fucking TV special than it was on a pay-per-view. Like, you couldn't do that match for the WWE title on a pay-per-view. You just couldn't. Especially without the championship being on the line. That would have been a waste of a John Cena PLE match. But it wasn't a PLE. It was a glorified television match on NBC that went 4 minutes. Truth scored some offense. I thought him coming out to Cena's gear was pretty funny. Would have meant more if John Cena actually switched up his own gear and entrance theme, but whatever. It was what it was, and already they're moving on, which honestly I'm okay with. I would have liked to see John Cena run down Truth in a promo saying, you're delusional. He's on SmackDown this week, so he still could. I doubt it, though, because Truth is not involved in the Money in the Bank tag team match that we're getting next weekend. But, as a match, it was whatever. Nathaniel also said, I heard that the Hulk is going to be in the Spider-Man 4 movie next year. Yeah, I did see that as well in the Brand New Day movie that they're making. Now, is it, Bruce Banner, Mark Ruffalo's Bruce Banner, or like the actual Hulk? Because remember, like, he made an appearance in Shang-Chi at the very end. Granted in a post-credit scene, but that was as, Bruce Banner. Or was he the Hulk at that point? I think he was just Bruce Banner. He was also in She-Hulk briefly, I believe. I think as the Hulk, but he was mostly Mark Ruffalo's Bruce Banner. So, I don't know. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. I don't know what's going on with that Spider-Man movie because initially when that movie was announced a few weeks ago, it was supposed to take place after Doomsday. Doomsday was set to be released next May. And then you would think that the Spider-Man movie, because Spider-Man was not announced for Doomsday, he might still appear in it. And even at this point, now that the movie's coming out after the Spider-Man movie, but like you would think the script would work in a way where it's like, it's kind of like Ant-Man and the Wasp, where it takes place before Doomsday, but they explain where Spider-Man was during Doomsday. But now the movie's taking place before, like Doomsday's coming out after that Spider-Man movie. So maybe they write him out in a way at the end of the Spider-Man movie, and Hulk too, maybe. But Hulk wasn't announced for Doomsday. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they're going to be in Doomsday, even though they switched when it's coming out and they're still filming the movie. So, they haven't completed filming, so it's not like, oh, yeah, Tom Holland's not in it, but we moved it, but he could still be in it, whatever. I mean, they could. They could switch it if they wanted to. I don't see that happening, but I guess it's possible. No said, I still remember William Regal getting trolled in his entrance against Bryan. Still makes me laugh. Yeah, the whole real man's man thing. Man's Man theme song that was on Superstars back in 2011. I remember, that's when I was watching Superstars consistently. The show's not on anymore, but I was watching it back then. And I remember that. That was actually in England. That was one of Regal's like final main roster matches against Bryan no less. It was in England, and they got a bunch of time on Superstars. It was a great match. Yeah, that was fucking funny. Fernando said, Steven Regal versus Finlay were my favorite Regal matches. I assume that was in WCW, not in... they had matches, I think, in WWE at some point, but I assume you're talking WCW. Grunt said, also, let the bodies hit the floor, let the bodies hit the floor, let the bodies hit the floor. I thought that was cool when they played that during... Like I said, Anarchy in the Arena is not my cup of tea. I think the match is garbage. It literally is, and figuratively, in my opinion, but whatever. A vast majority of the AEW audience likes it, so I'm not going to sit here and shit on it to the point where it's like, oh, how the fuck could anyone like this? People like that stuff. I don't like GCW for that very reason. I think a lot of their stuff is just garbage. But, I will say, though, what I was going to say, the one thing, or one of the few things about Anarchy in the Arena this year that I liked, because they always take a song, and they play it for like ever during the match. And they did that this year, but they did it, I think they did it with the Bucks' like founding father, because they came out dressed as the founding fathers. That was goofy. But I think they did it with their song. They did it with I'm So Excited, which I thought was funny, but they did that briefly. And then Omega cut it off and switched it to Let the Bodies Hit the Floor, which was very cool. Honestly, very apropos for a match of that nature. Especially for a match, and kind of inspired by ECW. And I don't think ECW ever used that song. They may have, I don't remember. But I associate that song with ECW because I think they used it for a bunch of the Invasion stuff back in 2001. That may have been the original theme song for ECW when they first started up the show in 2006. But that's what it made me think of, so I thought that was cool. Fernando said, let me see, I got to backtrack here. Congratulations for episode 600. Hopefully we get 600 more and beyond. I can promise you if I'm fucking breathing and I'm alive, then I will be here doing the show. So thank you, Fernando. I appreciate it. And hopefully if we are still doing the show in 600 more episodes, which is another fucking 12 years from now, God, imagine what the wrestling landscape will look like in 2037. What I'll look like in 2037. If we're still doing the show by then, hopefully, Fernando, you're there to join us. Maria said, Steven Regal WCW television title reign is underrated. Fernando said, Regal had an awesome IC championship run. Which one? He was IC champion briefly in 08-09. That's when I was watching. He held the championship before that in like 02, but even then he wasn't champion for very long. I think he beat Edge for the Rumble in 02, and then he lost it to Rob Van Dam at WrestleMania. Fernando also said, Hangman versus Will Ospreay is one of the greatest matches I've ever seen. It was an excellent match, and honestly, I was very surprised. There's probably a lot of people were that Hangman won. I'm not complaining. I'll probably talk about this more on Thursday or at some other point. What worries me about Hangman winning, I love the fact that he won. Hangman is awesome. I don't know what you do with Will Ospreay. To go back to Grunt's question from earlier, genuinely, I have no idea. The only thing I can think of that I kind of thought of last night, I haven't seen anyone say this, but I'm sure other people have said, I just haven't seen it. He goes back to Ricochet, because the last time they had a match, Ricochet won. Ospreay has yet to beat Ricochet in AEW. Ricochet just won at Double or Nothing against Mark Briscoe. So he has some momentum right now. And there's been a lot of talk. Even last year there was talk of when Ricochet's contract expired. Oh, do we get Ospreay and Ricochet all in? That didn't end up happening. Ospreay ended up facing MJF instead, and Ricochet was in the... He did show up on that show, but in like the Gauntlet Battle Royal or whatever. He showed up there. I could see them doing Ospreay and Ricochet for the... I say for like a title. It doesn't even need a championship. I could see us getting Ospreay and Ricochet. But I'm not really sure what like the long-term picture looks like, quite honestly, with Will Ospreay right now, until he wins that title. But what I was going to say, what worries me about Ospreay losing and Hangman winning, is that Hangman's going to lose. I think Hangman will... I think, honestly, my current prediction at this point is that Hangman will not win at All In. And then Ospreay will get the shot at Forbidden Door, and he's going to lose too. Now, Darby Allin being the one to beat Moxley ultimately is cool and all, and I feel like they're going to save that for All Out. or Grand Slam in New York City, the exact place where they had their match a year ago, and Moxley won, took the title shot from Darby Allin. I could see them doing that. The issue with that is that means that we get Moxley as champion for another 4 fucking months. It has been way too long already. And this reign overall has sucked. So I really don't want him champion for another 4 months. It looks like that's what we're looking at, though, sadly. The fact that people honestly thought Swerve was beating Moxley at Dynasty, it makes me laugh. And I mean, I'm not going to laugh at the fact if you think Hangman or Ospreay might beat Moxley before then. Because Forbidden Door, I think, is going to be in England this year, because taking the place of All In, they're doing All In Texas in July, whatever. I'm not laughing at that, but I just get this concerning feeling that I think Moxley will beat both guys on both shows before losing it to Darby. And Darby taking the title doesn't bother me. What bothers me is that Moxley will be champion for another 4 months. That means another 4 more months of the Death Riders bullshit, which isn't going away even after Moxley loses. But it will be drastically curtailed, I would hope, if he's not the world champion. Fernando also said, Double or Nothing is the best pay-per-view so far for 2025 with 2 Match of the Year candidates, Mercedes versus Jamie and Will Ospreay versus Hangman. I don't know if I agree. I don't know if I agree with any of that. I mean, I definitely agree that Ospreay and Hangman is a Match of the Year contender, for sure. I don't think Mercedes and Jamie Hayter is. They had a great match. I think Mercedes' match with Athena was better, to be honest with you. The match those two had on Dynamite last month, I thought was better than this. And that was a great match with Mercedes and Jamie, but I thought Athena and Mercedes was better. Pay-per-view of the year? I don't know if I could sit here and say that. Was it better than, like, Mania? Yes. I mean, Dynasty was ruined by those. Dynasty and Revolution, for as good as some of those. Dynasty was kind of whatever. I thought Revolution was a great show up until that terrible main event. The main event for Dynasty might have been even worse, or at least the finish was. That finish sucked. To me, I still think the pay-per-view of the year, and I'm not just saying this, WWE fan, whatever. I'll honestly tell you what I think the pay-per-view of the year was. If you don't count Grand Slam Australia as a pay-per-view, which I guess it wasn't, and I thought that was a great show, honestly, I still think Elimination Chamber was the best show of the year. Now, the fallout from the Cena heel turn's been terrible, but the actual turn itself was cool. The main event was great. That entire show was awesome. Better than Mania, better than Rumble, better than... The AEW shows had a lot of great matches, but these shows are just too fucking long for me to sit here and say this show was perfect. They're just way too long, man. Way too long. But it was a very good show, though. And to each their own. Let's see. Maria said, Saturday night's main event was a glorified house show with way too many commercials. I mean, it was. I agree. I mean, that's what Saturday night's main event was always going to be. Quite honestly, when they brought it back, I was not surprised. That's what I always expected them to be. I enjoy the shows for what they are, but they are just glorified house shows. I mean, Jay and Logan Paul getting 8 minutes and half of that being commercials is just fucking ridiculous. But the thing is, Jay and Logan was never going to be a barn burner anyway. I thought it'd be a good match, but we barely got to see it because most of it was commercials. And with it being on TV, again, it's going to be commercials. People think that these shows are going to be like fucking pay-per-views. They're on television, and it's NBC no less. So they're going to be consumed by commercials. Any other show on that spot, it's not a WWE thing, it's an NBC thing. That's just what it is. So I wish they were a bit bigger. The fact that Cody Rhodes came back, Bronson Reed came back on that show, I thought made it the most newsworthy installment so far, and I enjoyed it for what it was. But it's not as if they're going to be these great wrestling shows. Again, I enjoyed Saturday Night's Main Event. I thought it was good. Double or Nothing was, if you want better matches, Double or Nothing was the show for you. I mean, by far. Even Battleground had better matches than Saturday Night's Main Event overall. Pseudo Talks Wrestle, thanks for joining. They asked, what do you make of the Penta Fable Dragon, or Gable, I think you meant to say. Penta Gable Dragon opener on Raw. I thought it was Penta's best match in WWE so far. That river plunge pile driver on Gable and that dragonly dive to the table, amazing. I agree. That match was fucking awesome. That was easily far and away. I thought Raw was good this week. I thought it was, solid, decent show. Kind of lacked energy. That crowd sucked. But best part of the show by far was that first triple threat. They had 3 triple threats, overkill, by the way. But that first one was tremendous. And I thought Dragon Lee might win because I thought Penta and Gable would kind of cancel each other out. I'm not complaining, though. Penta being in Money in the Bank is awesome. I don't know if that means he won't be at Worlds Collide if we're not getting that Lucha Bros reunion on that show. But either way, I thought that match was awesome. I agree. And that dive to the table, like you said, was crazy. You said it was Penta's best match so far. It probably was. And I think it's also worth noting, probably Dragon Lee's best match so far, too. He's had some very good matches in WWE on the main roster in the last year and a half. I think that's got to be his best one. We don't see him nearly often enough on WWE television. But when we do, the matches are never really as great as that was. I think it was the best match for Penta and Dragon Lee in WWE up to this point. So, thanks for the question. I appreciate it. Fernando asked, I was waiting for someone to ask me this because I have a lot to say on this. They asked, what were your thoughts? Let me see here. Did you enjoy Lilo and Stitch? I'm very glad that you asked that. I'm going to go back to that. I'm going to go through the other questions because my answer to that question is going to take a while. I might even take my answer and cut it out, not cut it out, but clip it here for the channel and put it up as a separate video. I have just been so overworked and just busy this weekend and whatnot that I haven't had a chance to even tweet about seeing the movie, but I did see the movie and I have a lot of thoughts on it. I will give you my thoughts here in a moment after I go through the other chats. Just don't let me forget. Richie said, thoughts on that bonkers ending to Joe Hendry and Trick Williams. I liked it. The match was fun. You know, both guys will never be mistaken for being the best wrestlers in the world, but they're both over enough where I thought the match, even with the shenanigans, which was expected, was entertaining. I thought it was cool. I expected Trick to win. I'm glad he did win, honestly. I think Joe Hendry is great. But Trick winning the title makes for a more interesting scenario because Slammiversary, for those that don't follow TNA consistently, Slammiversary in July, coming up in like a 2 months, month and a half, it's in New York. It's in Long Island, I think, at the UBS Arena. And who else is from New York but Mike Santana? And he's been building momentum for a while now. I think it just is a better match. Maybe not in ring-wise, but it just makes more sense for him to take that title in his home state, hometown, whatever, from Trick, a heel, a WWE guy, than Joe Hendry. Especially if Trick is the outsider. I just think it's going to make for a bigger reaction. Now, if Trick beats him, that's fucking garbage. But I think this Trick thing I'm fine with. If he's champion for 2 months, a month and a half, I think that's totally fine. Trick has kind of done it all in NXT. What more can he even really do at this point than go to TNA and be the world champion over there? So I thought it was cool. They made history. Maybe we'll get Trick more on TNA TV. They have Against All Odds coming up in a few weeks. I assume he'll defend the championship on that show. It's basically like the Kenny Omega run from 4 or 5 years ago, but not as good because Kenny Omega is a way better performer than Trick Williams. I mean, it's night and day, obviously. But the Trick thing could still be solid. I think if it leads to Mike Santana beating Trick for the belt in New York at Slammiversary, that could be, and I hope to be at that show. That can make for an amazing reaction, and Santana deserves it. And I think they're headed in that direction. Mike Santana appeared in the backstage segment at Battleground. So they're definitely headed in that direction. If they're giving Santana some exposure on NXT to kind of make you familiar with the guy before he beats Trick in a few months, I think that's perfect. Grunt asked, can you rank every Brand Warfare Survivor Series between 2016 and 2021 from worst to best? That's a good question. Can I rank every, the pay-per-view? I assume you mean the pay-per-view, not the elimination matches. If you're talking the pay-per-view, easily the best one they did during that period, there were 6 of them. The best one was 2019. Easily. I mean, the one that featured NXT. That was probably the best one of the bunch by far. 2019 was a great show. A lot of the matches were great, so that's easily number 1. I would probably put 2016 at number 2. Because that was when the concept was still fresh and the brand stuff kind of meant something at that point because they just brought it back. So I would go 2019, 2016, 27, probably then 2017. 2018 was the year that Raw just completely wrecked SmackDown. And, there were some good matches on that show. We got Brock and Bryan, Charlotte and Ronda. Those matches were great. The rest of that show I remember it being pretty garbage. Trying to think. So it would definitely be 2019, 2016, 2017, or maybe 2021. I was there for 2021. That was a good show. I thought it was fine. By that point, the brand supremacy stuff kind of meant nothing. But 2017, I don't really remember a whole lot about. I don't know. 2017 and 2021 are kind of interchangeable. 2021 had Roman and Big E and some other decent matches. So I'll go 2019, 2016, 2017, 2021, 2020. I know that had no fans, but that had Taker's like retirement promo. You also had Roman and Drew on that show, which was great. So I'll probably say that. And then 2018 was the worst one. So again, one more time from best to worst, I would go the Brand Warfare pay-per-views. I would go for Survivor Series 2019, 2016, 2017, 2021, 2020, and then 2018. Noob said the Drowning Pool Bodies playing during Anarchy in the Arena was mad hype. Reminds me of 06 ECW. Yeah, that's what I said. Richie said, wasn't that song used for One Night Stand? Yeah, what Noob said. Yeah, I think they did. I think they did use it for One Night Stand in 06, and I think they used it for ECW itself. I grew up in the era of WWE ECW where they had that, I thought it was Shinedown. It's not. The Still Standing Here, Still Standing Here. Who sings that song? I don't remember. It's a band or a name that I know, and I'm not thinking of it right now. But that's the song that I remember. Don't go breaking my heart, still standing here. That's what I remember being the ECW theme, but I think they used it for One Night Stand and then again for the show itself right after. Nathaniel said, I'm seeing Lilo and Stitch today. Oh, very cool. $5 Tuesday, perhaps? I wonder when Cope returns. If they're doing FTR. I mean, the thing is, we've been predicting, a lot of people, I'm not saying everyone, but we've been predicting FTR versus Cope and Christian for a while now. They are no closer to doing that reunion. I mean, the show's coming up in like 6 weeks. Is that really enough time to get Cope and Christian back on the same page and reintroduce Cope? I don't know if it is. And does FTR go after the tag titles next? They probably should. They won their match on Sunday. And what other teams does AEW have left? But then you have like the Hurt Syndicate against FTR. Is that really like, I don't know, it's heel versus heel, but Hurt Syndicate are basically baby faces anyway, so I guess it could work. Nathaniel said, I'm not sure that Hangman is beating Moxley, but I hope he does. I agree. I hope he does, but I'm not convinced he will. They also said, who do you think wins between Becky and Lyra and Money in the Bank? I think Becky takes the title. I know I said that at Backlash, but I was happy that Lyra won, no complaints. I think Becky takes the belt at Money in the Bank. I think the feud's not over, and I don't think it needs to be. Honestly, their feud has been so good. The match at fucking Backlash was excellent. I am fine with Becky taking the title and building to another match at Evolution. Fernando said, people love a redemption story. Hangman taking the title from Moxley is going to be Sting beating Hollywood Hogan at Starrcade without the trash finish. I hope so. Hopefully it's better than that trash finish. I agree. Noel said, as God is my witness, if Moxley keeps the world title, I'm done with this story. I was done with this story fucking the moment it almost started, but especially soon after. I've been done with this story for a while. You say that you're done with it now or would be when he loses. I was done with the story 6 months ago. Nathaniel said, I think all out we could get Cope and Christian versus Hurt Syndicate in Toronto for the tag titles. Yeah, I could see that. If Cope and Christian beat FTR first at All In, and if they're in Toronto for All Out, I totally forgot about Cope and Christian like being a team on that show. That would make a lot of sense. I like that. Let's see. Richie said, Darby winning the title does nothing for me, but as long as this run from Mox and Dookie Riders ends, I'm with it. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people actually are not with the Darby winning the title thing, and that's fine. I'm not going to blame you. I'm with it, but I understand people that aren't. As long as it ends the Death Riders bullshit, that's kind of the top goal. I will go back to the Lilo and Stitch thing in a little bit, I promise you. I forgot. I think Nathaniel asked about that, or it was Fernando. Fernando asked about it. I will go back to it. I definitely will answer that. I have a lot to say about the movie. Let's see. Fernando also asked, how are you liking the Heyman Collective so far? I like it. I think the addition of Bronson Reed is great. They didn't really explain why Rollins would be willing to forgive him and why Bronson would want to join Rollins. I mean, he was perfectly content on his own. I mean, he was with the Bloodline kind of, but why would he team with the guy that he attacked on purpose? I don't know. They didn't really get to that. We didn't even hear from Bronson Reed. Maybe they still will. I'm not holding my breath. But on paper, I like the idea of the faction. The only issue that I have with it is that Rollins is still not going all in as a heel. He's just out there fucking doing babyface bullshit. It's stupid. I'm the visionary, I'm the revolutionary, and then the crowd has to chant along. He shits on the crowd, and then he lets them finish his sentences. It makes no fucking sense. Richie said, I feel like the Peacock broadcasts of Saturday night's main event should at least be commercial free. Is there no way for NBC to have two feeds of the same program, one for cable and one for their streaming service? Yeah, that's a good question. It doesn't really work like that, though, because NBC, I'm sure they do others. They stream a lot of stuff. It's not a WWE thing, and I don't think they would make an exception for WWE. For example, when they do award shows and games and stuff, they stream that stuff also on Peacock. It would make sense if these things were commercial free, but if you're streaming award shows, what are you going to have during commercial at award shows that you're not seeing during commercial? You know what I mean? So I think that they wanted to make it all the same. They don't want to make it for WWE like, you're going to get this commercial free. Ideally, you should, but even if you're watching on cable, you're not watching that for free. You're probably paying for that too, obviously. With Peacock, you could pay for it on Peacock. You would think, you're paying for it, so you get some extra incentive of seeing what's going on during the commercials. But I'm going to be honest with you, that really wouldn't make much of a difference to me because they're not doing shit during the commercials anyway. It's just fucking rest holds. Like anyone internationally that watches Raw will probably tell you the same thing. I kind of prefer the commercials at that point because I know what to fucking fast forward. So they're not ever going to do anything like an actual match. They never will. They're not going to do like cool shit during the commercial. They never really have. So to me, it doesn't really bother me. Grunt said, what are your top 5 favorite title changes that you've seen live? That's a loaded question because I've been to so many shows, so it's kind of hard to say. The Cody one is probably number 1, to be honest with you. Cody beating Rowan at WrestleMania 40. That was amazing last year. I was there for the Bayley-Sasha match at TakeOver Brooklyn 10 years ago, and that was incredible. I was there for that. I've been to a lot of amazing shows, a lot of great NXT shows, Gargano taking the title from Adam Cole and vice versa. Their pair of matches in 2020 or 2019. Wow, that long ago. Those matches were great. Those would be up there. I might name those. Trying to think of what else. What other shows have I been to? Like I was there. I've been there for every Mania in the last 4 years. So like the Damian Priest cash-in was awesome. I'm trying to think of what else. There's definitely been other ones. I would really have to think about it. But the Cody one comes to mind, and Bayley beating Sasha in Brooklyn comes to mind. Because those are the 2 best matches I've ever seen live, period. I've been there for a lot of cash-ins, a lot of Money in the Bank cash-ins. I've been to several AEW shows. I'm trying to think of AEW title changes. The Lucha Bros beating the Bucks at All Out 2021, because that match was incredible. So the Bucks Bucks losing to the Lucha Bros was amazing. I'd probably put that up there too. I would say maybe those, you said top 5, but those are 3. The Damian Priest cash-in, like I said, was great. I'm trying to think of other ones that I was there for. Title changes? I'm trying to think of like 2018. Oh, the Hardy Boys. The Hardy Boys coming back in 2017 to WWE and then winning the Raw tag titles. That was fucking crazy. The return itself was wilder, but the title change right after was wild. So I would probably put that in the conversation. Yeah, and then probably Gargano or Cole. Probably Gargano winning the NXT Championship at TakeOver New York in 2019. Or Kofi. You know what? Kofi Mania. I was there for that too. I'd probably put that in the top 5. Kofi beating Bryan at WrestleMania 35. That was awesome. Those would probably be my top 5. Kofi Mania, Kofi Mania, Hardy Boys, Bayley and Sasha, Lucha Bros, and Cody at Mania 40. I'm sure there's many, many more, but those are the top 5 that come to mind. Fernando said, Santana is killing it on TNA. Very proud of him. He is. Santana's great. He was a guy I really did not think would amount to much more than a tag team guy, but he really proved me wrong personally, among many others, and he's had an awesome run so far on the Indies, on TNA. I agree. Richie said, Jinder Mahal versus Brock Lesnar would have been the greatest match of all time. Shame WWE robbed us of it. Listen, that match could have rivaled Shawn and Taker as the greatest match in WWE history, and they robbed us of it, and we never ended up getting it. So, yeah. Shame on that front. Studio or Pseudo Talks Wrestle said, yo, I'm new to the channel, went through your work, and your consistency is amazing. As a new wrestling content creator myself, I appreciate your work. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much, Pseudo. I appreciate that. If I'm mispronouncing that, by the way, let me know. I assume it's Pseudo, but thank you so much for saying that. I appreciate it. Thank you for, first of all, subscribing, checking out the work, whatnot. Best of luck in your own endeavors as far as being a wrestling content creator. Definitely not easy, but if you enjoy what you do, if you enjoy making the content, I mean, not even necessarily the shows themselves. You're not going to always enjoy every show that you review or talk about. I can tell you that as someone who has done most of their work and channel during a period that was fucking terrible for the business and specifically WWE up until a few years ago. I can tell you I've been in the trenches. It would be a lot easier to do a podcast during the Attitude Era when shit was fun. Now when it's fun, not as fun 10 years ago. A lot of people that were doing shows, when I started doing #AskGSM 12 years ago, I mean, a lot of people are not doing shows anymore that were doing shows then. It is very far and few between. I can tell you that right now. A lot of people gave up, moved on. Probably would have been better to do so, honestly, than stick through some of the shit that we had to watch during that period. But yeah, I appreciate that consistency word. Means a lot to me because that's what I'm not saying I do the best work here on the channel. It's probably I probably shouldn't say that, but I there's a lot of other people that do certain things better than I do, a lot better than I do. But one thing I think a lot of people don't have is that consistency. And one thing I can promise you by checking out this channel, the articles that I write, the reviews that I do, and stuff like that, but specifically like the podcasts, the videos, and the reviews that I do and the articles. If you go back in the last 15 years, I have reviewed every fucking Raw that I have watched for the last 15 fucking years. Practically, for the last 14, 15 years, I have reviewed, for better or for worse, reviewed every Raw. What that is worth, I don't know. But what I'm telling you is, for anyone that enjoys my work or enjoys my reviews or podcasts and whatever, if you get any sort of enjoyment out of them, one thing I can tell you is that you can always count on it. It may not always be when you expect it. Like, for example, I mentioned the Double or Nothing review earlier. I still haven't finished it just because I try to watch as much wrestling as I do. And I've toned it down. Like, I don't watch certain promotions anymore or certain shows anymore. I've tried to kind of, lessen the workload as far as that goes. But you'll always get a review. I will always be here to talk about it. Every Tuesday, every week, we answer questions. Every Thursday, we do the podcast reviewing it. On WrestleRant.com, you can always get those reviews, reviewing AEW, reviewing WWE, reviewing TNA. I've been doing it for 10 plus years now. And as far as I foresee it going, I never see that changing because I enjoy doing it. And maybe it's part of that OCD in me, but it works out to my advantage. So that C word, not the bad C word, but the good C word, consistency is what I pride myself on. Thank you so much for saying that. Anyway, not rant over, but, spiel over, I guess. On to the next question here. Fernando said, I'm starting to think Cope and Christian versus FTR is not happening anymore. Instead, Hurt Syndicate versus FTR is what I'm looking forward to now. It could still happen. I just feel like they'd have to rush into that Cope and Christian reunion pretty quickly. I mean, they can make it work, but it would have to come together pretty quickly. And they really should take their time with it. But Hurt Syndicate and FTR, I'd be totally on board with. Johnny said that was the third best Will Ospreay match in AEW. First, Daniel Bryan. Second, Kenny Omega. I think it was better than the Kenny Omega match, personally. I know you're talking about the Forbidden Door match from 2 years ago. I think it was better than that. I agree. I think the Bryan match is still the best one. I mean, Ospreay's resume in AEW so far is just fucking insane, man. I would probably even put the Swerve match above the Omega match. You're talking that Omega match from 2 years ago. I think the Wrestle Kingdom match might have been better from New Japan earlier in the year. I don't know if that Kenny Omega match was even top 3. I think that match with Paige is better. I think the Bryan match is better. I think the Swerve match might be better. He had amazing TV matches with Darby Allin, with fucking Ricochet, like you mentioned earlier. MJF at All In last year, which was an amazing match. Takeshita, Fletcher. I mean, Ospreay's resume is fucking insane, dude. And he's only been under contract for like a year and a half. It's really incredible. Johnny also said that Anarchy is titled the first one for my favorite. Yeah, I could see that. That was Anarchy I'm not a big fan of, but, it was definitely up. I mean, for favorite, I don't really have a favorite, but, they were all kind of interesting in their own way. Fernando said, I'm one of the people who ain't feeling Darby beating Moxley. Nothing against Darby. That's fine. A lot of people aren't feeling it. That's totally fine. Let's see. Nathaniel said, so Fernando, do you think Cope and Christian versus the... Yeah, I mean, I know you're asking Fernando, but I do think Cope and Christian versus FTR would be... Well, would it be for the tag titles? I mean, I guess it would be if it's later on in the year. I guess it depends. Depends on, I don't know. Depends on how you see it kind of playing out. Johnny said that tag title match and trios match didn't need to be on the pay-per-view. No, it did not. I love the Hurt Syndicate, but Hurt Syndicate versus Sons of Texas. Honestly, even Daniel Garcia and I love Nigel. Nigel and Garcia versus FTR did not need to be on the show. It was way too fucking long. It was a good match. Way too fucking long. Way too long. But it was an overall good show. At least they're good matches. It's a good problem to have. When you have too many good matches, it's not like the matches are terrible. Patriots 12 said, Banks, Flair, Becky, Bailey. I assume you're answering the headline question of best NXT call-ups. We'll get to that in a little bit. Grunt said, do you think an all-women's show / brand could ever work in either WWE or AEW? A good question. I mean, a lot of people have always asked this. I don't... Do I think it could work? I think it could work. Do I think WWE and AEW would book it with the consistency that it needs to work? No, I don't. Especially AEW. Honestly, Ring of Honor TV is basically an all-women show at this point. You look at the roster that AEW has so many women under contract, so much talent under contract. But I feel like we barely see half of them. You know? I feel like Tony Khan sure as fuck cannot book an all-women show. WWE might have a bit more success. Honestly, to be perfectly honest with you, NXT is basically an all-women show. I mean, it's not literally all-women show because there's obviously men on it, but a majority of NXT TV every single week are women's matches. I don't think you should have an all-women show. For the same reason, I don't think you should have an all-men show. I think you need some variety in there. It could work. I mean, there's all-women's promotions. I mean, it's not like it wouldn't work. But WWE and AEW, I don't know. I just don't see them giving that the consistency that it needs. And also, they don't need more content. I mean, how would that work exactly? Would the storylines that we would see play out on that all-women show factor into Raw and SmackDown? Would we also get, I remember there was a theory at one point, we could take all the women that are on Raw and SmackDown and then segregate them from the men. No, Raw and SmackDown should have women's matches and women's representation. If you're saying in addition to that, then maybe, but even then, I don't know. WWE and AEW, I sure as fuck do not see them making that work. Listen to Alexis. She said, y'all give this stream a like in celebration of 600. I agree. We have reached the 600 milestone. If you're watching live or after the fact, like the video. I appreciate it. To celebrate this milestone. Johnny said, I might have to put Will in my top 10 all time. I mean, you wouldn't be wrong to do so. The guy's, that's his resume for AEW alone. We're not even talking his resume in New Japan. Some of the matches he's had in Ring of Honor and on the Indies. I mean, I'm talking AEW alone, bro. And not even the matches he's had to come. It's insane. Mike has said, have you ever thought about talking wrestling on TikTok live, like doing lives over there similar to Twitter Spaces? No, I have not thought of that. He also said, congrats on 600 episodes. Thank you, Micah. I have not thought of that. That is a possibility. The problem with that, honestly, is there are ways to go live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter simultaneously. I don't know if you can do it with TikTok. TikTok live and shit like that, I think you can... You might be able to go... I don't know how it works. I'm not even on, really, TikTok. I created an account to watch the TikToks that Alexis would send me, but that's really about it. I don't use TikTok. For branding purposes, I probably should, but I just do a lot as it is. I really have no interest, to be honest with you. I really don't give a fuck about TikTok. But that being said, I think there might be ways to go live on... I would honestly go live on Instagram before I would go live on TikTok. I already have an IG account, so it's just a lot easier to do. I think there's ways to go live on IG and TikTok, and then there's ways to go live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, together. You would need certain systems running simultaneously. It's just a lot. And I would also have to start from the ground up building a following on TikTok, and I just don't have the interest or the bandwidth to do that mind-wise, mentally. So Probably not. It's not a bad idea, but honestly, I feel like the first big step was going live here on YouTube. I feel like this has been, I love doing the show for the last 12 years, but I think going live this year has been the best thing that we could have done with it, and it's been very rewarding and very fun to do, and it's been great. We already have the base here on YouTube. Doing Twitter Spaces, I never really gave a shit about, to be honest with you. I think I may have done one in my time on Twitter, but I just prefer at this point going live on YouTube. It's just easier. But, never say never, I guess. Nathaniel said Fernando, he was just responding to what Fernando said earlier. So speaking of Fernando, let me just go back here and answer his question from earlier before we go back into the other scheduled questions, before we go further on with the other questions that were sent in advance. I guess I'll answer this real quick. Johnny said, have you seen Will versus Shingo and Will versus Okada in New Japan? Those are still my favorite Will matches to date. I definitely saw Will and Okada. If they were at Wrestle Kingdom in the last 5-6 years, then I've seen them. I remember watching Ospreay and Okada because I think Okada beat him at Wrestle Kingdom, if I'm not mistaken. Will and Shingo, I think that was a different show, so I don't think I would have seen that. I've seen a lot of Ospreay matches even in New Japan, but yeah, Ospreay and Okada, I did see their Wrestle Kingdom match. I remember that. But anyway, to go back to the question from earlier before we go on to the scheduled questions, the other scheduled questions, Fernando asked my thoughts on the Lilo and Stitch movie that came out this past weekend. I did end up seeing it. I enjoyed the movie overall. I enjoyed Lilo and Stitch. I saw a lot of conflicting opinions. Oh, I love the movie. Oh, I hated it. It was garbage. It was great. Was it the best remake I've seen from Disney? Yes, but that's kind of a low bar. I'm also a Lilo and Stitch mark. A massive Lilo and Stitch fan I am. So I am totally biased. But it was definitely better than, Mufasa. Mufasa was okay. Lion King was good. It was better than Lion King. I like the Beauty and the Beast one from about 8 years ago. It was better than that, I think. Definitely different than the animated movie. Some changes made sense. Some were just like, why? I mean, I won't spoil it here. A lot of people have talked about the ending. I was not a fan of that. I'm not going to sit here and say it was fucking garbage, but it was... I don't really see why you would need to change the ending so drastically. It wasn't even like they tweaked it. It's a pretty fucking different ending. They took certain characters out. That pissed me off, therefore having to change the role of other characters. Disney made a lot of money on that movie, but they also made a lot of money because they did not put a lot of money into it. Now, $100 million, I don't have that sitting around in my pocket here, but that's not really as much as they've paid for other live-action movies and just movies in general. That's because they apparently it was because it was a Disney Plus exclusive originally. So they kind of gypped on the CGI and stuff. And even honestly, on Disney Plus, they really should. I mean, they've put a lot of money into like fucking shows of shit, episodes of shows on like Secret Invasion. Take that fucking budget and give it to Lilo and Stitch. You know what I mean? But I think they kind of gypped on the budget so they could make more money on it. Probably is what happened. Because I will say, it's not really a spoiler, but like Pleakley and Jumba, for a majority of the movie, are not even in their alien forms. They're humans. They're the actors who portray them. And by the way, Zach Galifianakis, I enjoy him. Loved him in the Hangover movies. He is a fucking terrible Jumba. Terrible. I mean, that was just... I thought that was such a weird casting. And I like him. When I heard that initially, I'm thinking, oh, maybe he'll play Pleakley because he's kind of funny. But he's playing Jumba, who has funny moments in the animated film. I just thought that was a very strange casting. Very, very strange casting. Don't know why they did that. So, the fact that they were not in their alien forms for most of the movie was very odd. Pleakley not wearing a wig pissed me off. I know that's, to a certain degree, it's not a big deal, but come on. That's what a lot of people remember about the animated movie. Pleakley is fucking hysterical. And he did not wear a wig dressed up as a woman at all in this movie, and they probably could have afforded to do that. I don't know if they wanted to avoid, the Disney's woke comments and shit. I have no idea why they did that. But, I thought overall, I enjoyed the movie. I saw Richie say there, I'm skipping this one because of Zach Galifianakis. Yeah, the voice did not work. As soon as he fucking spoke, I'm like, that doesn't work for me, brother. Jumba, I know the guy who voices Jumba passed years ago. You weren't going to get him, obviously. But if they don't turn into humans, you could just use the voices from the animated film for those guys. I mean, Jumba died, like I said, but maybe just get a similar accent or a fucking Russian accent or something. I don't even know what Jumba's accent is supposed to be in the movie or in the show and shit. But just get someone that sounds similar. Pleakley, I know they want newer actors, okay? They want newer actors. So I understand that, they want to use newer people, but if you don't have them change into humans, you could have used Kevin McDonald. Kevin McDonald is, first of all, hilarious. Second of all, he's perfect as Pleakley. And you could have just had him voice Pleakley without having to turn him into a human. But they had him cast as someone else because they wanted to jip on the budget and all this other shit. So that fucking pissed me off. But you could have used Kevin McDonald. But I will say this, one thing that I thought was really cool, they added new characters into the movie. And the director said, well, we added new characters, so we had to take some people out. Sorry, Gantu. Bro, everyone remembers Gantu. He's not, like, crucial to the plot, but he's, like, the main heel. Because everyone else, even Jumbo and Pleakley by the original, spoiler alert, are baby faces in that first movie at the end of it. Because they fucking live with Lilo and Nani. That is not the case in this movie, because Jumbo is the heel throughout. He never turns babyface. Now, that could change in an eventual sequel, which I'll get into in a moment. I'm very passionate about this because Lilo and Stitch is one of my favorite movies of all time, but the series itself is literally my childhood. Like, I watched every episode of that show many times over as a kid. Every episode of the show I loved. I watched Stitch the movie. I watched Lilo and Stitch 2, Stitch as a Glitch. I fucking loved Leroy and Stitch. And I went back and watched every episode of the show with my then 10-year-old sister a number of years ago, because she kind of fell into it and loved the show and the movies and stuff. So I showed her every episode, and I watched every episode of her. And she also really enjoyed it. And I went back and watched Leroy and Stitch, and I'm like, man, even 20 years later, this shit still holds up. That movie was great. And it's such a great finale. And just the lore, like literally Stitch, like people just know Stitch. People have not seen, I mean, there were so many kids in the theater when I saw it. I mean, I joke, but like, I went through the trenches. I saw the original movie when it came out. I've seen every episode of the show. A lot of these kids have no fucking clue the show exists because Disney doesn't do a good job of promoting it. And they don't know that there's other experiments. Now, people have seen Angel. She's from the show. She's not in any of the movies except for Leroy. Like, she's not in the first movie. She's not in Stitch Has a Glitch. She's not even in Stitch the movie. She comes in during the show. But she's so marketable because she's basically a female Stitch, and people think she's cute and whatever. And that's great. But, people don't really remember that. They don't know about the other experiments. Lilo and Stitch, the whole experiment thing, could literally be Disney's version of Pokemon. I mean, I'm not even kidding. Like, you could use the experiments as Pokemon. Like, I'm not even really a Pokemon fan. My brother was much more into it as a kid than I was. But you could, gotta catch them all. Like, that's why I loved about Danny Phantom. Like, you had all the fucking ghosts out there. Like, remember Danny Phantom on Nickelodeon or whatever? I love that show because it's like kind of like you gotta catch them all. And they all have different powers and whatever backstories. And that's what I really liked about the Lilo and Stitch franchise was that you had all these other experiments out there, of which they only made 65 episodes before they, ended the show back in 2006. But there are, again, for those that haven't seen the movie, I don't really want to give away too much. I don't want to spoil it, like the ending and stuff. It is entertaining. I think the girl who plays Lilo is great. And of the new characters they added, I will say this, of the new characters they added, both of whom are in the original movie and in the show. So, like, the woman who, I didn't know this going into the movie. I kind of noticed it while I was watching it. But the woman who voices Nani in the movie, the other movies, the show and whatever, actually is in this movie in a live action role. They created a role for her that was not in the original. She's not Nani, obviously. She's like 50-something in real life. But they use her in this movie, which I thought was great. They use the voice of David in a very minor role during the movie. Not as David, because again, in real life, he's 50, 60-something years old. But he's in the movie. And also the voice of, this is such a fucking deep cut, and I think she's definitely in the original, Mrs. Hasasagwa. She's like the old lady with the big ass glasses that's like fucking deaf. She's very briefly in the movie, but she has a much bigger role in the show. She's also in this movie. I think Amy Hill is her name. Might be wrong on that. But they also created a character for her in this movie. And I thought that was really cool. As soon as I heard her speak, I'm like, I think that's Mrs. Hasasagwa. That was very cool. So I was happy with that. There's a lot of similarities between the two. To see certain movies or see a lot of scenes reenacted from the original was great. Because that's the whole point of an animated movie turning to live action. You want to see it recreated for live action. They do add some stuff. The soundtrack is largely the same as it should be. Selfishly, I really wanted the theme song of the show in the movie. I'm not going to sing it here because I do not want to do you guys that disservice. The theme song of the show, it's in Leroy and Stitch, and I think in Stitch the movie, it's not in Lilo and Stitch. So, I mean, even technically, it wouldn't even make sense to put it in the movie. But I was kind of hoping for that. But otherwise, they have Burning Love. They have Hawaiian Roller Coaster Ride, which is, synonymous with Lilo and Stitch. That's in the movie. Different versions of the songs, but still, the soundtrack is largely the same, which is great. The story beats are largely the same. A lot of cute moments. Kids will enjoy it. They'll like the fart jokes and stuff. Not really my cup of tea, but, whatever. Gets very emotional at the end. Thought that was well done. That was great. No major post-credit scene. There's a mid-credit scene, but it doesn't set up a sequel. It just kind of ties up what happens with the characters at the end of the movie. But I will say this. I thought what made me freak out more than anything. And if you haven't seen the show, honestly, this really isn't much of a spoiler because you probably don't give a fuck. But one thing that I was kind of hoping for going into the movie, and it wouldn't even make sense, honestly, because it's not in the original movie. There is no indication at the end of Lilo and Stitch, the very first movie, that there's other experiments. They call them Experiment 626, but it's not like they hint at other experiments. They wait until Stitch the movie in 2003 for that, which is what set up the show soon after, that fall. I think the movie came out in like mid 2003, and then they created the show like literally months later. So there's no indication there's other experiments. There is, in this movie, Easter eggs put in there that would imply, if they make a sequel, which they 1,000% fucking should, and people said, oh, make it based off Stitch Has a Glitch. No. Fuck that shit. Stitch Has a Glitch literally serves as a movie, no purpose. It's not a bad movie, but it's not great, and it's kind of a waste of time. It really doesn't add to the canon at all. It's basically just a repeat of Lilo and Stitch, with Stitch being bad and having a glitch and shit, and they need to give him away. Like, it's the same thing. Like, no, we don't need it. We don't need Stitch as a glitch in live action, honestly. What they need to do is adapt the elements of the show and put that in a fucking movie. I don't care if it's in theaters. I don't care if it's on Disney+. Make that shit into a movie with the other fucking experiments. And honestly, like I said, there are hints of that in this movie. And I will show you right now what I'm talking about, because it's sitting here right next to me. They need this in the next movie. And if you have no idea what this is, you need to do your fucking research. This is Ruben, Experiment 625, who has all the powers of Stitch, but he doesn't want to use them because he's fucking lazy. He instead just makes sandwiches. I'm not going to say exactly what it is or when it is, but there is a certain tease of Ruben and some other experiments, Angel being one of them, and just another one from the show. I fucking screamed in the theater. Maybe not loudly, but I was like, what? I was like, whoa, what the fuck? Because I was not expecting that. I was not expecting any talk, any hints of other experiments. There is a hint of it. They do plant the seeds in there a little bit at one point during the movie. And I thought to myself, holy shit, that was fucking awesome. And I'm like, they have to create a sequel. Could it be garbage? Bro, it might be terrible. You might even think this movie's terrible. But listen, I'm going to be honest with you right now. This movie is not for you. This movie is not for anyone else but me. They created this movie in my name just so I could see the other experiments after 20 fucking years in live action. The fact that the other experiments, of which I know all of their powers and every fucking number from A to Z, from 0 to 629, they made this shit for fucking me. So I will pay to see this movie 1,000,000 times if it means that we get more Lilo and Stitch, whether it be in live action, you renew the series. I don't give a fuck, bro. You need to keep making Lilo and Stitch shit. I want to see more Ruben merch. I want to see another Lilo and Stitch ride. I mean, that shit got, I like the ride, honestly. I'm in the minority. I always love the Stitch ride in Disney. People shit on it. That's fine. Fuck you. You made it go away. I want more Stitch representation. Give me more. I mean, there's a lot of Stitch representation. Give me more experiment representation because the experiments are fucking awesome. And I agree. I agree, Micah. He said Reuben's Sandwich's Stacker game was legendary growing up. Bro, you can still play it. I found a link in which you can still play the game. I used to play the fucking shit out of that game. And they also had a game on the Disney Channel website where you could also design your own experiment. And they showed up, they showed all the other experiments. And I always constantly hope they would add more experiments to it, like from season 2. Go back and watch the show. Sign up for the Nick saying he tuned in just in the middle of a rant. Yes, there is. You're here in the middle of a rant, a Lilo and Stitch rant. This has turned into a Lilo and Stitch review. Go back and check it out. Like, I watched every fucking episode of that show. If you have a Disney Plus subscription, fuck anything else that you have it for. Go back and watch the show. Go back and watch the show for my boy, Paul Rubin, or whatever his name is, that voices this character. Reuben is the fucking man. I love Stitch. I think I like Reuben more. When I saw that they were selling this, I'm like, I fucking need it. I fucking need it, and I really want to get it signed by the guy who voices the character, who I've met before, because he also voices Carl from Jimmy Neutron. Nani, nani, nani. And I'm not talking Nani from Lilo and Stitch, but he has that line in the Jimmy Neutron movie. That's a deep cut. But anyway, this shit is for me. This Lilo and Stitch shit is for me. I'm not going to say it's the greatest movie of all time. Quite honestly, out of 5, I'd probably give it 3.5 stars. It was good. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the movie. Did I think it was amazing? No. Did I think it was great? No. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I would have done differently. The voice of Jumba being one, I thought he was fucking terrible. Zach Galifianakis was such a weird casting for that. That sucked. Needed more of the aliens. Don't drastically change the movie. But I saw people complaining about, like, little shit. Oh, they made Jumba fat jokes. Like, who fucking cares? Like, you know what, honestly? Go support the movie for me. I don't even care if you like Lilo and Stitch. Go watch the movie for me. Go watch the movie. Pay your money, top dollar. Like we joke about here on the show. Oh, I go see movies for $5 on Tuesdays. I do. I didn't see this movie for $5. I paid top dollar to go fucking watch this movie. We were going to see it with Nick, actually, and his wife, Lindsay, on Friday. But it just didn't work out. We sat in the middle of a row of kids that were crying, and, it honestly wasn't unbearable, but we sat with all these kids on Friday night. I needed to see it before I got the spoilers. If I got fucking spoiled about the other experiment teases being planted in the movie, I would have been fucking pissed, because I legitimately screamed. When I saw that tease, that little Easter egg of other experiments being in the movie, I said, holy fucking shit, these kids do not know. They are not OG Stitch fans, Stitch canon. And I'm not talking about the anime. Fuck the anime. The anime sucks. Lilo's not even in it. I don't count that. That's not considered canon. I'm talking about the video games. I'm talking about the ride. I'm talking about the show. I'm talking about everything that is Lilo and Stitch, the series. Go back and watch it. Watch the show. Support the movie so they make a second one so then I can go enjoy it. I don't even care if it's garbage. Bro, I don't even fucking care. If they have Reuben in another movie where he's making sandwiches, I don't care. And listen, I am part of the problem. If you want Disney to make less live action movies, do not come talking to me. Don't come talking to me, because I'm the worst person to ask. I will also tell you that they're unnecessary. I will also tell you a lot of these live action movies are not fucking good. But I'll also sit here and say I need them to make another one so we get Reuben. We need Reuben. We need Reuben in another movie. All right? Justice for Reuben. We needed Lilo and Stitch 2 only for him. And yes, Nick, the movie was for us. The movie was for fucking me. The movie was not for those kids wiping their boogers off their face and begging their kids or begging their parents for more popcorn. No, that movie was for me, and it was for any of us diehard Stitch fans that were in the fucking trenches when the show got canceled, the ride got taken away from us, and then there was no representation of Lilo and Stitch. This has turned into a Lilo and Stitch review, and I'm going to take this clip probably and put it separately here on the channel, because people need to know about this movie and what it means. It's not about the movie itself, okay? It's not about supporting live action or AI or whatever the fuck. This movie is about supporting me. This movie is about supporting the show. People who have seen every fucking episode and need more. I need to know about the other experiments that did not make the series, what their powers are, and see them in live action. All right? Pseudo says, I've never heard of this movie franchise before. Listening to you dissecting it so passionately makes me want to check it out. Bro, you gotta go fucking check it out. Go watch Lilo and Stitch. Watch the first movie. Stitch as a Glitch came later, but canon-wise, it takes place after the first movie, and then you have Stitch the movie, and then you have the show, and then you have Leroy and Stitch. Consume all of that, and then get back to me and tell me it is not the greatest thing ever. End rant. Go watch Lilo and Stitch. It's good. It's not as bad as people are saying. People are freaking out about it. There's a lot of aspects of it I fucking hate. The fact that Gantu's not even in it, fuck you, Disney. Fuck you for that. And the fact that Pleakley doesn't wear a wig, fuck you for that too. But there's other aspects I thought they did well. I just want to see a sequel, so we get Reuben. We need Reuben. That's the end of the rant. All right. Whew. All right. Epic rant. Thank you, Maria. I'll go back here in the chat for a second, and then we'll go back to the other questions that we had scheduled, and we'll end after that. I was going to end in like 10 minutes, but we'll probably go for a little bit longer than that. Do you have a checklist of the matches that you want to see? Johnny asked. No, I don't. If someone recommends me something, I might check it out. Usually, I just don't have the time. But I don't have a checklist. I have a checklist of movies I need to watch. Matches, no. I've seen most matches that I want to see or, had the time to watch. When does Roman Reigns return? I heard Money in the Bank, but, definitely in time for SummerSlam. Should Trick Williams customize that TNA belt, Micah asked, similar to the Broken Skull title, or like Edge with a rated R spinner? He's a heel, and WWE could sell the title on Shop. Yeah, they really want to get some heel heat. They could. I don't think they will. I think this will be a short-lived experiment. Slammiversary, no pun intended, experiment. I think Trick loses the belt in less than 2 months, so would they really give him a custom belt for less than 2 months? I don't know. Probably not, especially not for a TNA title, but that would be interesting. That ending actually upset me like watching it live. I was life. This never happened in the original. Oh, yeah, talking about the end of the movie? Yeah, no. I won't spoil it, but yeah, that it didn't, I wasn't like really, I did say really, but I'm not like that was terrible. I get why they did it. It just wasn't necessary for Lilo and Stitch. Grunt said, watching Daredevil Born Again as we speak, and fucking the hell, the first episode, the opening of the first episode is a kick to the nuts. Grunt, when we spoke, a week or two ago, you were in the middle of season 2 of Daredevil. Have you since watched all of Daredevil, of the original show, and now you're on to the new one? I agree with you. That opening to the new show was insane. One of probably the best, craziest MCU show opening I've ever seen, first of all. Second of all, let me know what you think of the other Daredevil seasons that you watched, and also if you watched Punisher. You kind of need to watch Punisher before you can even watch this Daredevil show. If you haven't, that's fine, but you should, because Punisher was, honestly, I think I enjoyed Punisher even more than Daredevil. Punisher was, with John Bernthal, was just, honestly, one of my favorite shows of all time. And I'm upset at myself. It took me a decade to watch it. Micah did see the movie. He said it was enjoyable. He saw it last Thursday. Johnny asked, are you going to see Mission Impossible? No. I have not seen any of the Mission Impossibles. So I would have to go back and watch them. At some point, I might. I'm not like, I don't want to watch them. I just haven't had the chance. It's not really at the top of my mind. I do want to go back and watch the other Fast and Furious movies. I've seen like half of them. I haven't watched all of them in order. I want to do that because I really enjoyed Fast X. That I would probably do before Mission Impossible, but at some point, maybe I'll binge the series. If they're all in one place, that kind of makes a big difference. Like Fast and Furious, I think Mission Impossible, same thing. All the movies are not on one singular streaming service, and that bothers me because it doesn't make for a great rewatch. Like if you're able to rewatch them, if one's here, one's there, that one's not anywhere, it's kind of difficult to rewatch them. Disney wanted the ending to be suitable for modern audiences. The original ending could be suitable to modern audiences too. I think people would just complain, like Nani, she needs to go to college. Like she doesn't know. She's content taking care of Lilo. Micah said, I think Lilo and Stitch could be what Sonic is, but for Disney. Yeah, I saw someone say that, and I completely agree. The Sonic movies, I'm not even the biggest Sonic fan in the world, but I enjoy those movies. And Sonic has been fucking huge the last 5 years. Stitch is already big for Disney, but imagine how much bigger it can be for Disney if they can keep making shit with these movies. Like Sonic, they only just had Sonic in the movie, and then they had the tease for Tails. That's kind of like what Lilo and Stitch was. And, like, the Tails thing was cool, but I'm not even the biggest Sonic fan, so I didn't, like, freak out over that. I freaked the fuck out over the experiments thing. When they alluded to it, and I'm not going to say what it is or when it comes up, I lost my shit, as you can tell from the rant I just gave. I think I might just pretend this movie doesn't exist and just stick to the animated film. That's fine too, Richie. I do think you should watch it. I agree with Micah, but I don't blame you. The director wanted to give him dressing as a woman in the live action film, but I guess he couldn't get it from Disney. Yeah, I did see that. The director did say that he wanted to do it, but then the Disney said no. Hey, guess what, Disney? Fuck you. Micah said they got the council lady. She did so good, perfect, and the original lady from her passed away. I did not know. Did the original woman, she passed away? I did not know that. The woman, I thought it was the same woman because she sounded exactly the same. The Grand Council woman, I thought it was the same lady. It's not. It's actually the blonde-haired woman, the leader of the team, the coach, the owner of the team, rather, from Ted Lasso. I forgot her name, but she's great. And she was actually the one who voiced the Grand Council woman in this movie, which is pretty sweet. Does it reach $1 billion? I don't think so. I think it made like $200 million. But is that domestically or is that worldwide? I don't know. I don't think it makes $1 billion. But it did make a lot of money. I see that stitched back up there on the left. Yeah, exactly. That stitch, you guys don't, well, I mean, you see that. Alexis got me that years ago. You don't see it, but there's another part of the wall over here where my brothers actually, for Christmas a number of years ago, knowing the stitch mark that I am, they got me, not the sign, obviously, but a fan-made one or like a fucking, someone made it on Etsy or something. It's the Stitch's Great Escape sign, the ride. It's like a copy, a replica of the ride sign, which is awesome. It's very cool. And I love the ride. Again, people got it canceled and whatever. Fuck you for that. But the sign itself is sick, and I still have it. I have it over there somewhere. Yeah, Fernando said, I heard Lilo and Stitch was supposed to be a streaming movie. It was. That's what I heard anyway. Mike said you should do a spoiler review of the movie. I mean, it wouldn't be much different than what I just said, to be honest with you. I just kind of alluded to everything. But I probably won't because I just kind of gave my best away on that one. That was kind of my thoughts in a nutshell. Fernando said, I'm looking forward to Hassan Dark Side of the Ring tonight, and I think he got the shaft. The gimmick wasn't his idea. Yeah, the guy, I mean, that's fucking awful. The episode comes out tonight. I'm looking forward to that. I will be watching it and reviewing it at some point, obviously. Probably this weekend. But I was like, you know what was a fucking banger? His theme song. I listened to his theme song a couple times knowing this episode was coming tonight, and I've listened to it several times. It's a fucking banger of a song. And it's crazy. They didn't even attempt to repackage him. Like, he did nothing wrong. They just fucking fired him. And that was it. Like, he pretty much quit the business at that point. He, made a return match a number of years ago, which is cool, with that music on an indie show. I wish I was there for that. But, yeah. You would think, oh, yeah, they'll repackage him. It wasn't even his fault. No, they just fired him, which is just insane to me. Richie said, rename the show Lilo Rant Episode 1. I could do a whole podcast on Lilo and Stitch. I'm not even kidding. What experiment is 1 and what does he do? Experiment 1 is shrink. He's an experiment that enlarges anything or shrinks anything that Jumbo wants him to. I think his name isn't Shrinky. I think his name is like Shrink or Shrunk or something like that. But yes, that is what Experiment 1 is. Not to be excused with Experiment 0. There is an Experiment 0 from the animated series, from the anime series. That shit is garbage. I won't even bring that up. But that is what Experiment 1 does. What's up, Micah and friends? Manny Fresh, what's going on, brother? Thanks for coming on in the middle of my Lilo and Stitch rant, mind you. Fernando, do you think Liv and Dirty Dom are breaking up? It looks like it hints are being given that it might happen. No, I think they stay together. Honestly, I could see them going babyface. I could see them leaving the Judgment Day. And then we get Roxanne and Finn versus Liv and Dom. Very possible. Micah said, apparently they are remaking Jimmy Neutron. What are your thoughts? I feel like even more than Lilo and Stitch, that doesn't work as live action, and it definitely does not work as a remake. Because the original voices are just so fucking good. The animation is cool. The data is hysterical. Unless you're continuing the show or the movies or something, it just doesn't work. That's another one, by the way. I love the Jimmy, like a lot like Lilo and Stitch. The first movie's amazing. I love the show a lot more. The show is my bread and butter. Jimmy Neutron's the same thing. I love the show way more than the first movie. Nickelodeon live action Jimmy Neutron. That would be terrible. Because like that doesn't even work. Like Jimmy Neutron's head, that would look so fucking stupid in live action. A lot of WrestleRant comments here in the chat. Thank you guys for that. Backtracking a little bit here. Beep, boop, beep, beep. That was an excellent review. Thank you. Well, thank you, Fernando, for saying that. I appreciate that. Richie said, we are the marks, and the kids in the theater are the equivalent of casual WWE fans who like the baby faces and don't know the lore of other promotions and wrestlers. That is a great comparison because that is so fucking true. That is so true. Johnny said, Disney should do a live action with Ronald McDonald, Hamburglar, and Grimace. Bro, what are we even doing? That would be scary as fuck. The closest that we should ever get to live action Ronald McDonald are those old and shout out if you know what I'm talking about. If you know what I'm talking about, give me a thumbs up in the chat or like the video. Cheap plug. But if you know what I'm talking about, let me know. I feel like these are a fucking acid trip. Like these were a dream or something. But the closest that we should ever get to live action Ronald McDonald are those old Ronald McDonald videos that they used to put in Happy Meals or give to you at McDonald's. They would literally give you fucking VHS tapes. I'm not even kidding. I collected them all except for one. I never saw the last one. But you can find the videos on YouTube that they're like, I don't know, 30-minute movies or something. They would start out with Ronald McDonald on live action with his fucking dog or something. And then it would become like an animated film where he'd go like camping or they would go to a haunted house or like the Ronald McDonald theme park. It's fucking creepy. But they were like, I like that shit. But yeah, he was live action at the beginning and end of those things. And that's the closest they should ever get to live action Ronald McDonald. How was the live action movie, Ahmed asked? I enjoyed it. I just did my whole rant. I'll probably, rewind 20 minutes. I will go back and upload the review as a separate clip here on the channel. But that is how I felt about the movie. Micah said, do you own any different versions of Uno, the card game? I found a WWE version. I thought it was cool, so I bought it. Micah, what you're looking at right there with the Lilo and Stitch, right underneath that, you see those two pictures right there? That's me with, well, first of all, actually, this is for Grunt. Grunt, if you're still here. This is me with Alexis, obviously, my buddy Connor, my college roommate, and Vincent D'Onofrio. I mean, a lot of people know him from Law & Order SVU, but that's Kingpin. We fucking met Kingpin last year, and it was cool. It was a very quick interaction, but we met him at Comic-Con. I love that picture. But what I was going to say was, below that, I have like these bins here, and in that I have my WWE Uno cards. I do have different versions of Uno. Alexis can attest to the fact. Her brother, I don't want to say bullies me, but he has like this party version of Uno or some shit. It's fucking awful. It doesn't make sense. You can slap cards down whenever you want. It's ridiculous. It is the dumbest thing that I've, like, why change what isn't broken? Okay, the party version of Uno is stupid. Honestly, any other version of Uno that isn't the original is dumb to me. But I do own the WWE version. I've played it. I have it. It's awesome. So, Micah, if we ever meet up, we can play WWE Uno with either your cards or my cards. We got cards. I'm an Uno guy. I love Uno. I don't play a lot of board games, but I love Uno and I love Sorry. Those are my two fucking go-tos. I've played other games, Life, Monopoly, a little too long in the tooth for me personally. Hungry Hippo, Shoots and Ladders, Go Fish, whatever. I'm those games are passable, but the GOAT games to me are Sorry and Uno. Click that link, it's low stock. What, for the, you talking, the Uno cards? Is that what you're talking? Oh, you click the link as it's low stock? What are you talking about? What link is, what's low stock? Let me know, Micah, what you're talking about. Nick said, random, are you guys watching Last of Us Season 2? I have a rant for the newest season. Nick, we will discuss it ourselves when I see you soon. I have finished the show. I finished Season 2. I enjoyed it, actually. I liked it. I finished the last episode yesterday. Alexis has not caught up on it. She doesn't intend to catch up on it anytime soon. What happened in episode 2 of season 2, Nick, Nick, but, for everyone else, for context. What happened on the second episode of the second season, she didn't like that, so she has not watched the rest of it with me. But I finish shows that I start, so I've seen every other episode. I've overall really liked the season. So yes, we can discuss it when I see you next, for anyone that hasn't seen it. But it did wrap up the other day. Yeah, so Richie knows what I'm talking about. Give me the thumbs up. He knows that Ronald McDonald lore. Did you hear about the Kool-Aid movie? What are we fucking doing in 2025 that we need a Kool-Aid movie? What the fuck is going on that we need a Kool-Aid movie? Is that a real thing? Have you ever seen the Ronald McDonald wrestling matches on YouTube? No. Should I? Should I have seen that? That sounds ridiculous. That sounds scary, to be honest with you. I've downloaded Ronald McDonald in the 2K games and played with him in the Rumble, but that's about the extent of it. Raka Raka. What is that a reference to, Richie? Is that a game or is that something else? Those boys are crazy. Wish they were still directing the Street Fighter film. I heard about that Street Fighter film that Roman Reigns might be in and Jason Momoa. I was never a Street Fighter fan, so I don't know if I'll see the movie, but if I hear it's decent, then I will. Nick said we'll talk soon. He also said I also had a few of the McDonald's VHS tapes. I love them so much. I'm glad I'm not the only one who knows what that sounds like. I sound insane because that sounds fucking ridiculous. But yeah, they would give you VHS tapes. I don't think I still have them, but you could just watch them on YouTube. But yeah, they had like a Loch Ness Monster episode, like a birthday episode. They weren't even episodes. They were like fucking movies. It was weird. But I enjoyed them. I loved them. I would bring them on vacation with me. I'd watch that shit all the time. Anyway, so we will finish off with the scheduled questions here and then call it a day for episode 600. I guess you weren't expecting that. Should I check out the Ronald McDonald match? Johnny said. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll waste my 10 minutes of my day today watching Ronald McDonald match. But anyway, I kid. We'll finish off with the rest of the questions here, and then we'll call it a day for episode 600. I should do a reaction video. Oh my God, maybe I should. It's not a bad idea. All right, I got to get going here. So let's finish out these questions, then we can call it a day here for 600, which really just basically turned into a Lilo and Stitch review rant. But Micah asked on YouTube, not now, but previously, he said, now that Trick Williams is the first NXT superstar to win the TNA Championship, who do you think will be the first TNA superstar to win the NXT Championship, and when should that happen? That is not happening. I don't think a TNA person is going to win the NXT title. That's just not going to happen. Could I see a TNA person winning an NXT title, like an NXT title, like the fucking North American title or the tag titles? Yes. Who? I don't know. Moose would have been perfect for the NXT championship, but that wasn't going to happen. Moose would have been an ideal fit. Joe Hendry maybe wins like an NXT title, probably in NXT. I could see the Hardy Boys winning the NXT titles. I thought that might have been where they were going with it when they beat Frax Team at MSG a few months ago, but then there was no follow-up. They just were not on NXT after that, which was kind of weird. So I want to see the NXT titles on the Hardys, to be quite honest with you. I mean, that sounds dumb, but I kind of do. So if anyone's going to win an NXT title, I think it's the Hardy Boys while in TNA. Raka Raka is the YouTube channel for it. Oh, okay. I might have to check it out. Mike said, who wins the NBA Finals? Who even is it? Is it still? I know the Pacers were facing the Knicks, but the Knicks got fucking blown out. Who's the other team? Yeah, Richie said the Rock will pivot the plans for the NBA Finals. Yeah, Black Adam will start playing instead on TBS. We'll go the Pacers because I don't know the other team that's in it. I should do a video ranking all of Will's matches in AEW. I mean, his best matches, sure. All of them, that would take forever. But the best one, sure. Do I think Cody returned too soon? I hear a lot of other people on YouTube disappointed that they didn't get time to miss him being away. Yeah, I wish he came back later, but they really wanted him at Money in the Bank, so I get it. At least he was gone at all. If he wasn't even gone at all, that would have been a mistake. But he was gone for a month, not nearly as long as it should have been. I wish he was gone until like June or July, but it's sufficient, but not long enough. I agree with that. If I knew the other team in the finals, I could tell you who I think will win. Because I'm such a basketball aficionado, I just know so much about it, Because people come to me for their basketball predictions. I'm just this expert on all things basketball, even more so than wrestling. You'd be surprised. But I'll go Pacers as of right now. No L asked, and this goes back to the headline question. What would be your best and worst top five best and worst main roster call-ups of all time? I'm sure we've answered this before here on the show in the past, but it's a good question. Best call-ups is easy. Honestly, you really can't go with anyone but the Shield and the Four Horsewomen because they're the biggest stars that WWE has produced in the last 10 plus years. So Rollins, and even AEW has fucking Sasha and Ambrose. So I'd say the Shield and the Four Horsemen. I also put Rhea on there, Bianca, Owen, Zayn. They're all big stars. So those are all the best call-ups. The worst call-ups is harder because there's been a lot of failed call-ups, a lot more than we even remember. But the ones that come to mind, you see him in the thumbnail image, EC3. It's got to be EC3 because EC3, we kind of, he's kind of fallen up now. He's in NWA and whatnot. But in WWE, he had a lot of potential. I mean, he had a great run in TNA initially, and he came over to WWE with a lot of momentum, and they just did fuck all with it. And they just let it go to waste, and he was like a mute for a while. He won all but one match, I think, on TV. He was a loser. He was involved in 24/7 stuff, and then they just fired him. I got to go EC3. They just completely fucking wasted that guy. Easily, to me, the worst NXT call-up. I might also put on that list Ascension. The Ascension were never going to be a top tag team, but they were never even really given a chance. They went undefeated for like a month, and they got embarrassed by the New Age Outlaws, and then they lost within a month after that, and they were just a jobber team after that. They were on the main roster for 5 fucking years. Think about that for a second. They were there for 5 years on the main roster and did absolutely nothing. Lars Sullivan, I had higher hopes for. I mean, he's just seemingly a piece of shit human being. But when he first got called up, I thought he had potential. I liked the actual debut on the post-WrestleMania Raw. And then he got hurt. His history came up as shit that he was guilty of before coming to WWE. So that didn't help. Then he came back, was cutting those weird-ass promos. Lars Sullivan was a terrible call-up. Remember he was supposed to feud with like John Cena or something like that, but he had like an anxiety attack or whatever. There's so much lore there with Lars Sullivan. A lot more than people even remember. But yeah, Lars Sullivan's another one. All of Retribution. I mean, all of Retribution were call-up except for Mustafa Ali, who was the leader. Retribution is probably the worst faction in WWE history, and if not the worst, one of them. They were fucking atrocious. And honestly, like, he killed almost all of their careers except for Mia Yim, and even she got fired after that, but at least she came back and she's a mainstay on the main roster now. But Mercedes Martinez got canned, and she was done after that. Shane Thorne never really had much of a future on the main roster anyway, but he got fired, and, that was terrible. Dijak recovered in NXT, but then they let him go anyway. Yeah, Retribution killed a lot of careers. D.L. Madden they fired, Maximum Male Models, and that garbage. Yeah, Retribution was terrible. I put Aaliyah on here. Aaliyah was always never really that good, but they called her up to do nothing. Like, she was one half of the women's tag team champions at one point. I'm not even really sure why they called her up. She just was never that good. And then people got mad when she got fired. Like, she sucked anyway. And she hasn't really done much since. And then finally, I also wrote down here Odyssey Jones. This is more than 5, but Odyssey Jones. Odyssey Jones had potential, and I saw, that he was falsely accused of something, I think. I believe it was falsely accused. I don't know what happened with Odyssey Jones. But I guess he was falsely accused because I guess she ended up admitting that it was not real. But they fired him anyway. This was before she came out and said it was a lie, I guess. And I could see him being brought back. But, yeah, he was on the main roster for like a year and a half. They did nothing with him. And when they finally did, he got fired because of the false accusation. And he just disappeared from the roster. And he never got to finish his story with the New Day. So I would say Odyssey Jones. Go Pacers, Fernando said. Oklahoma City Thunder finishing their story, Johnny said. Thunder versus Timberwolves are two teams playing in the Western Conference Finals, and Oklahoma's up 3-1. Yeah, I'll go Oklahoma City. If it's all about finishing that story, we'll go Oklahoma. Mercedes Martinez hasn't been doing anything in AEW. Yeah, no, she hasn't. She was the Ring of Honor Women's Champion for a little bit there back in 2022, but since then, she's barely been on the show. I don't know if she's hurt. I think she's still there. Just they've done fuck all with her, too. Megan Bayne being being on Ring of Honor. No, Megan Bayne at least she's won most of her matches. She lost to Double or Nothing again, but she wasn't pinned. We need more of a sample size for Megan Bayne. She's only been there for a few months. So I can't even say she's been a terrible call-up. She's only been there for 3 or 4 months, but she got a title shot pretty quickly, and they've been booking her well for the most part, so I can't say her just yet. Noel also asked about thoughts on Mania going back to Vegas. I'll talk more about this on Thursday's WrestleRant Radio with RJ, but personally, I'm okay with it because I love Vegas. Every other aspect of it, though, is lazy. The fact they announced it for New Orleans and went back on it, the fact it's just a money thing is gross. Yeah, it's kind of a mess. That is stupid. Mania should have variety. Going back to the same city isn't really exciting. Some people can't afford to go. There's a lot of downsides. I'm excited because I really want to go, and I love being in Vegas again. Not to drink and gamble and shit, but just because everything is mostly close. So that's the only reason why I'm cool with it. But every other aspect of it is kind of lazy. I do agree with that. I'll talk more about it on Thursday. Micah said, which movie are you most excited for, and which movie will you be seeing on a Tuesday? Jurassic World Rebirth, How to Train Your Dragon live action, and Superman. Of those three, I'm most excited for Superman. Which movie will I see on a Tuesday? Probably... I know, actually, we are definitely seeing Jurassic World on a Tuesday because our anniversary, Alexis and I's anniversary, falls on a Tuesday. And the first movie that we saw on a date together was Jurassic World, the second one. Terrible movie, but that was our first date. So there's kind of like that nostalgia factor there. So we will probably see that movie on a Tuesday. How to Train Your Dragon, we will see. I still need to see the first one, the animated first one. But I might see that on a Tuesday too. I likely will not see that the weekend it comes out. WWE did the New Orleans fans dirty. They definitely did. And money, money, money. That's all what it's about. Just play Shane McMahon's theme song. That's really what it's about for WWE. At Iwagu91 asking, which championship do you see Ricochet winning in AEW? He also said, aha! Like that fucking stupid Ricochet thing. What title do I see him winning? Not the world title, but I could see him as TNT champion. TNT champion, or if they merge, I mean, I would say the international, but International and Continental will probably all be one belt in a couple of months by All In. I'll say TNT. I could see Ricochet as the TNT champion. Your thoughts on Mike Santana making his NXT debut against Tavion Heights tonight? I love it. I think Mike Santana is great. He's had an awesome run in TNA. I do think he is the one to beat Trick Williams for the TNA title at Slammiversary in New York. Just makes all the sense in the world. And hopefully at some point he can end up in NXT full time because he's that good. He's had a hell of a run the last year plus since leaving AEW. His next question. Before JC Mateo was decided on, did you know that Jeff Cobb was considered to be called JC Matanza? A nod to being Matanza Cueto in Lucha Underground. I saw that this past weekend. That is fucking awesome. I really wish his name was JC Matanza. I don't know if it was a copyright thing, or I also saw that he wasn't a fan of the name. And if he didn't like the name, that's fine. But I think JC Matanza would have been fucking awesome. JC Mateo's fine. But man, that would have been an amazing nod to Lucha because he was great in Lucha. I am kind of bummed that's not his name because that would have been really fucking cool. Fernando said, do you think AEW has been doing a good job booking Speedball? Yeah, I mean, he lost in that international triple threat at Dynasty. He also lost to Okada this weekend. But both matches were great. He's having a lot of fun matches. He's on the shows every week, whether it be Dynamite or Collision. I don't know what his trajectory looks like long term, but he's been booked fairly well so far. So far, so good at Speedball. I think he's been a great fit for AEW so far. AJ Styles needs to win the TNA belt. I mean, not from Trick, I don't think. I don't think he's going to win the TNA belt, but at least one TNA AJ Styles appearance is all I really want to see. That's all I need. Just give me Get Ready to Fly one more time. I'm begging you. Millennial Noob. Let's see. His question was, what are your thoughts on Trick Williams becoming TNA champion? I find it very shocking and surprising at the same time. Does that mean Joe Hendry's time in TNA is coming to an end? Let's see. Yeah, no. I mean, what are my thoughts on becoming champion? I think it's fine. I don't really think that Joe Hendry's time is coming to an end. But just because, he lost the TNA title, he is leaving TNA at some point. I don't know if that's soon. I don't know if it's the end of the year. He was always leaving regardless. I don't know what you do with Joe Hendry going forward, but I do think he'll be fine regardless. He'll end up in NXT soon enough. What are my thoughts on Trick becoming TNA champion? I think it's cool. If Mike Santana is the one to ultimately dethrone him, then I'm totally cool with it. So I'm totally on board with that. And I don't really think it was all that shocking because I did expect him to win it at some point. I kind of expected him to win it at Battleground anyway. And then last question, at Misdemeanor6 from Twitter. Their question was, would Saraya/Paige's American debut be a big deal today? I am talking about her wrestling skills. I think women's wrestling has moved on for the better since her debut. That's partly down to her, by the way. Yeah, I mean, Paige, by today's standards, I mean, there's a lot of women that are better than her. She was always great, though. Do I think it'd be a big deal today? Yes. Do I think it'd be as big of a deal? No. Paige came in at a time where there were just not a lot of great women on that roster, pre-Four Horsewomen. So, I mean, it was just a bigger deal when she came in. But, I still think it'd be a big enough deal. If she made a big enough name for herself on the indies and in other promotions, because it wasn't just Paige's in-ring ability, it was also that she was so different. She was like the anti-diva. She had that certain charisma about her. But she's not really the anti-diva anymore, and we also don't have divas anymore anyway, so it doesn't even really matter. So I think it'd be a big deal. Not as big of a deal as it was in 2014, though. I'll say that much. And that's going to do it, guys. I got to get going here in a moment, so if you want to send in a question for future episodes, you could do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.gsm.Matthews. Drop a comment on the post. I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself, or on Monday nights, rather. And drop your comment down below on the question, drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. We have been doing this for 600 fucking episodes, more than 600 weeks, dating back to 2013. Thank you guys oh so much for an awesome anniversary episode here today. Not an anniversary episode, but a very cool milestone episode. Support the channel, support the show, become a channel member. Shout out to our channel members, Alexis, Miss Maud Matthews, Dillon, DiGiacomo, Mrs. Renee, DJ Swerve 1, Daniel Malcolm, RJ Marceau, John Ritland, Richie, and the Average Grunt. Shout out to all of them for becoming channel members. I greatly appreciate it. But at the very least, you could just like this video, subscribe. All that support is awesomely appreciated as well. So like I said today, crazy 600 episodes. Also marks, to the day, 15 years from when I started with Bleacher Report. What an amazing coincidence that is. Pretty fucking cool. And I'm looking forward to seeing, what the future brings here for the channel. Maria asked, do I go all out on my anniversary occasion with Alexis? I mean, all out by our standards. We don't really, we're not fancy people, to be perfectly honest with you. We'll either just go to the movies, go out to eat somewhere. We've been to, the most basic of places. We, last year, almost went out on our anniversary. We almost took a day trip to Massachusetts from Connecticut. And it wasn't even like it wasn't a nice day. We were just both so fucking tired. We said, I'd rather just stay. We would rather just stay home. So we just ended up staying back and just watching an NXT show and just hanging out. So we just I don't think we ended up really doing much. We may have, last year I don't really think we did anything. This year we're probably definitely going to the movies, going out to eat and whatever. But really beyond that, we really don't do much. A few years ago for our anniversary, we did Medieval Times. It's in New Jersey. There's a lot of them, but we went to the one in New Jersey. She really wanted to go there, so we did that. And it was great. We went to Rainforest Cafe, not on our anniversary. We've seen movies. We saw a Thor movie on our anniversary. We've seen Jurassic movies on our anniversary. We really are just movie people. Sometimes we'll take a trip somewhere. Most of the times we'll just hang out or just get something to eat. We are not fancy people. My birthday is actually next Monday, and I'm not really doing much for that aside from just going out to eat on the day of. So, kind of crazy. All this shit's kind of coming up at once. 600 episodes of the show today. 15 years with Bleacher Report today. Turning 30 next Monday. So I'll be 30 by the time we do our next show next week. For episode 601, I will be officially a year older as of next Monday. So all the anniversaries or all the special occasions kind of wrapped up in one. I'm fucking tired. I got to get going and get some other stuff done. So again, thank you guys oh so much for checking out these videos as always. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, subscribe. You know the deal. I appreciate it a lot. Have a great one, folks. I'm Graham GSM Matthews. Have an awesome rest of the month of May. We'll catch you right back here on hashtag AskGSM next Tuesday and WrestleRant Radio, most likely this Thursday with Mr. Marceau, breaking down Raw, Battleground, Saturday Night's Main Event, AEW Double or Nothing, and so much more. Until then, guys, I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.